When Seth Rollins says, "I'm out guys," with actual heartbreak in his voice instead of his usual cocky smirk, you know something has gone horribly wrong in the world of professional wrestling. But before you start planning retirement tributes and farewell montages, let's pump the brakes on that sensational headline claiming Seth announced he has to retire and never wrestle again, because that's about as accurate as a Baron Corbin promo, which is to say it's complete garbage. What actually happened is serious enough without needing fake retirement drama added on top. So let's break down the real story of the Architect's injury and what it means for his future. Seth Rollins made a genuinely heartbreaking admission recently, but it wasn't about permanent retirement or never wrestling again. The Visionary had to relinquish the World Heavyweight Championship after suffering a legitimate shoulder injury during the main event of Crown Jewel in Perth, Australia. That's already devastating news for any wrestler, especially someone like Rollins who's been carrying Raw on his back for months and was in the middle of a compelling championship reign. Having to vacate a title because your body broke down is the kind of gut punch that reminds everyone how dangerous and unforgiving professional wrestling can be. Since sustaining the injury at Crown Jewel, Rollins has undergone surgery to repair the damage to his shoulder. Surgery is never good news for an active wrestler because it means significant recovery time, physical therapy, and the terrifying uncertainty of whether you'll come back at the same level you left. But this is Seth Rollins we're talking about, a guy who's already come back from multiple career-threatening injuries including a catastrophic knee injury that would have ended most wrestlers permanently. If anyone has experience with the comeback trail, it's the Architect. Now here's where this story takes a turn from devastating to slightly hilarious, because only Seth Rollins would make his injury update while dressed as Stanley the Bear, the official Chicago Bears mascot, on Good Morning Football. That's the kind of chaotic energy that makes Rollins one of the most entertaining personalities in wrestling whether he's in the ring or doing media appearances. Most injured wrestlers would do a somber interview sitting on a couch looking sad. Rollins shows up in a full mascot costume because apparently even serious shoulder surgery can't stop him from being extra. The hosts of Good Morning Football noticed that the mascot was wearing a sling, which is a pretty big tell that something's up. When the Architect finally removed the mascot head to reveal himself, the injury conversation became unavoidable. The hosts mentioned that many fans believed his injury was a fake storyline injury like his SummerSlam situation when he fooled everyone into thinking he was seriously hurt only to reveal it was all part of the show. Wrestling fans have trust issues because we've been worked so many times that we assume everything is fake until proven otherwise. But this time the injury is painfully real. Seth made the admission that wrestling fans didn't want to hear but needed to know. He will be out of action for 6 months. 6 months is an eternity in wrestling time where storylines change weekly and momentum can be lost in the span of a single bad creative decision. For a main event star like Rollins who's used to being featured prominently on television every week, sitting on the sidelines for half a year is torture both physically and mentally. If Rollins is correct in his estimate that he'll be out for 6 months, the math puts his likely return around April, which just happens to be when WrestleMania 42 is scheduled to take place in Las Vegas. That's not a coincidence, and it's probably why Seth chose to be specific about the 6-month timeline rather than giving a vague, "I'll be back when I'm ready," answer. WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year, and every wrestler dreams of being on that card. Missing WrestleMania because of injury is devastating, so if Rollins can possibly return in time, even if it's cutting it close, he's going to push himself to make it happen. However, even with a targeted WrestleMania return, it's going to be touch and go whether Rollins can actually compete at the show of shows. 6 months is the best-case scenario assuming everything goes perfectly with his recovery, he doesn't have any setbacks and his body heals on schedule. Anyone who's dealt with major surgery knows that recovery timelines are more like suggestions than guarantees. Complications happen, healing takes longer than expected, and rushing back too soon can lead to re-injury that makes everything worse. Rollins' injury forced WWE to completely pivot its plans for the World Heavyweight Championship, which is never ideal when you're trying to tell long-term stories. CM Punk had become the #1 contender for the title after winning a triple threat match, setting up what should have been a massive championship showdown between two of the biggest stars in wrestling history. Punk versus Rollins for the World Heavyweight title is money, the kind of match that sells tickets and generates mainstream attention. Losing that match because of injury is frustrating for everyone involved. After the championship was vacated, WWE had to scramble and come up with a new plan on the fly. They held a battle royal to determine who would face CM Punk at Saturday night's main event for the vacant championship. Jey Uso won that battle royal, earning his shot at the title and giving main event Jey another opportunity to prove he belongs at the top of the card. It's a solid backup plan that gives Jay a big moment and keeps Punk in a featured position. But it's not the match that was originally planned and probably not what WWE wanted for that spot. The injury also forced WWE to completely change their plans with the Vision, the faction that was being built around Seth Rollins before everything went sideways. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker turned on their leader on Raw a few weeks ago in a brutal beatdown that was supposed to set up months of storyline. Paul Heyman aligned with Reed and Breaker during that betrayal, shocking everyone who assumed Heyman would remain loyal to Rollins after their WrestleMania connection. On the following Raw after the betrayal, Heyman explained his decision in the kind of promo that only Paul Heyman can deliver. He revealed that he joined the Vision not because of Seth Rollins but because he saw Breaker and Reed as future WrestleMania main eventers. In Heyman's cold calculation, aligning with the rising stars who are about to take over the industry makes more business sense than staying loyal to someone who's injured and sidelined indefinitely. It's ruthless, it's logical, and it's exactly the kind of thing Paul Heyman would do as a character. That Vision storyline was clearly building towards something significant before Rollins' injury derailed everything. Now WWE has to figure out how to keep that faction relevant and interesting without their original leader, while also setting up Rollins' eventual return and revenge angle. It's a creative challenge that requires long-term planning and patience, two things that aren't always WWE's strong suits when they're trying to fill weekly television. The good news, and we need some good news in this story, is that Seth Rollins has proven time and time again that he can come back from serious injuries and perform at an elite level.